What if I told you that you can hold a tiny replica of the sun in your pocket? Sounds like an Iron Man tool, right? Well, today you're going to take a look at something that comes kind of close, or doesn't. This is the NITECORE EDC 37, packed with a bunch of pros, but in my opinion, an equally amount of cons, depending on your application. Stick around and find out why. First, you're going to look at what they say is the best part of this flashlight. That 8,000 lumen light blast isn't just a regular bright light. When you press the button all the way, it gives you a super strong flashlight of 8,000 lumens. That's like turning on the sun for a second, and I do mean a second, right in your hand. The second feature that NITECORE raves about will have to be that 3,000 lumen search mode. I kind of like this one right here because it focuses more on the candela output than the lumen output. And being somebody who is tactically inclined, or I feel like that, I want to be able to put a beam on my subject and not light up the whole room all the time. They claim this thing can reach out to 4 football fields. I haven't had the opportunity to put that to the test. Maybe one of you guys can let me know if you did that down in the comments. The next thing that I see NITECORE and other content creators pushing is that tiny, teeny digital screen right there. Now, it does have its uses and benefits. It shows you the battery life. It actually shows you what illumination level you are at, from 15 to 100, 400 to 1500 on the normal modes. And then it also shows you that 8,000 lumen burst. And then it shows you that 3,000 lumen search. Oh yeah, and this thing also has a hidden feature that you can customize. I'll let you guys know that at the end. It's quite useful, in my opinion. It does have a bigger battery than most phones, and you can't take it out. So I guess it's just like most phones, but it takes a Type-C charging cable that plugs in right on the side. And it has up to 190 hours of runtime on the lowest setting. And obviously that number drops, I wouldn't say drastically, but it drops with the higher settings. I don't know anyone who's going to run this thing at 15 lumens all the time. Now, those were some of the bigger features that they brag and boast about when it comes to the EDC 37. Now, there are a couple of other features that I feel like actually are more useful within this flashlight. That would be the 4 different lumen adjustments, which goes from that 15 all the way up to that 1500, as I said before, and the ability to have that half click, which gives you that 15 lumens automatically, and then a preset that, or you can set it how you want to, but it comes preset at like 1500. You can run it all the way down. So I have mine set at 100 right now, and we can go all the way up really quick. If you can see that, from 15 to 1500. I feel like that's one of the better features that this light has. It does have a second tail switch that operates that lumen shield and that search mode. And you can also customize it to have that secret third mode that we'll talk about later. It also has that physical lockout switch that is definitely necessary on a light like this that could burn your nuts off. Another very minor feature that it has would have to be the glass breaking capability that's on the front of this light, which is just 4 screws that you could actually remove. They do give you the tools and accessories to get this thing off, or these things off, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's not that it is highly useful, but I mean, why would you not want to, break some glass if you can? Now, don't get me wrong. The EDC 37 does have tons of features, but it also has a few things that you need to look out for. In my opinion, the name EDC is kind of misleading, especially for the application that I was intending to use it for and what I actually think that is good for. Now, if I didn't mention before, I was actually sent this product, and I was also sent a weapons mounted light from NITECORE. But Warriors, you guys already know that does not change my opinion. I'm gonna always keep it real with you guys because that's what you come here for. John Wick 2.0, keeping it honest. So first, we're gonna talk about that 8,000 lumens that they boast about, which seems to be their standout feature. It does have 44,000 candela, but it's a little drawback in my opinion. This thing does get up to that 8,000 lumens that they're talking about, but for how long? Between the two different functions, the search and the lumen shield, you only get about 8 seconds. For me, in an EDC situation, you would want way more time than that for that strong blast to come out of your flashlight. And as I said, 8 seconds, and it also takes over 90 seconds to fully recharge back up to the point that you can actually use that lumen shield or that search function again. Also with that 3000 lumen, 40-something thousand candela search mode, you don't really get that lighthouse effect that I'm looking for when it comes to an EDC flashlight and wanting to be able to actually put a beam on your target or an assailant and not really have so much light project back on you or the rest of the room. I'm gonna show you a different flashlight that I tend to carry EDC and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now this is the typical flashlight that I tend to carry every day with me, and it does have 80-something thousand candela. If you guys can see the type of beam or the direct light that it puts on a certain subject, if you can see, it's like within this range right here, and it actually casts out that much all the way to the sky, to be honest. So if that one is the sun, this one is Luke Skywalker's lightsaber. You can see this thing is actually still recharging that 8,000 lumen, 3,000 lumen search and lumen shield mode. And it has been over a minute and a half. Also, a second con would have to be that this thing does not have a removable battery. Now, if I'm not mistaken, the purpose of most flashlights is to be able to have some sort of illumination in the dark, or let's say the power went out. How are you going to keep this thing charged up if you come into a blackout situation? The EDC flashlight that I typically carry does take these rechargeable batteries, and I have about 4 or 5 of them, and they're all charged up and they're ready on standby in bags. And we're still charging. Another strike that I would have that will go against this flashlight would have to be its design altogether, this square design that it has. Now it does fit in the palm of your hands, really nice and snug. And you do have access to push that first button for those normal light functions. Very easy. You do have to adjust to get to that lumen shield and that search mode. A lot of us, I feel like, are used to the more tubular or tube style flashlights. With the amount of power that this NITECORE EDC 37 puts out, it does get super hot. So it goes back to that first statement of having the sun in the palm of your hands. It does give that impression, literally. And with that being said, now I know why they have that 8-second timer on those higher light settings. In my opinion, they should have went with a more tubular structure. They would have been able to boast more candela and lumen. This has 8,000 lumen. This has 80,000 lumen or something like that. And it also has 100,000 candela. I might have said that wrong earlier, but 100,000 candela. This has 44,000 candela. But when I'm holding both of these flashlights and illuminating them, I can feel the 44,000 candelas or the 8,000 lumens, whichever you want to count, way more than I can feel this 80,000 to 100,000 lumen and candela. They also should have put a tail hook on that thing too. To combat with some of that heat directly on skin, they do offer you a lanyard loop. And I was wondering why they had this in there, because I'm like, who would want a flashlight hanging on the outside of their pocket? But now I totally understand. If they would have went with a circular construction or a tubular construction, they would have been able to put this tail hook on there. So I honestly think that this light can go way above that 8-second illumination for those two higher settings. But I really think it's a safety feature. They didn't want to have a whole bunch of people calling saying that NITECORE needed to replace a pair of pants or a pair of balls. Now, with all that being said, I still think that this is a cool flashlight. I feel like it does have its use cases. For me, being somebody who's more tactically inclined, I'm probably going to stick to a tubular style flashlight for my pocket. That's just me. And if NITECORE wants to send me out one of their flagship circular style flashlights, I'm all for it. I'll give you guys a review. But for me, this flashlight will shine in a get home bag, my 945 Industries bag, or just somewhere in my car. It definitely still has enough functions to meet most of your guys' needs and a few of mine. Now, the secret mode that I was going to tell you guys about that I do not have on my precious everyday carry flashlight would have to be that strobe mode, y'all. I do love that they have that. And so that function alone may change what I just said, at least sometimes, but it still does get extremely hot. So I don't know, more of just a plaything, or will it actually be useful being that it only lasts for 8 seconds? And what if you're coming against a combatant? Would that be enough? So what do you think, Warriors? Is the NITECORE EDC 37 good enough for you? It does have a powerful light. It does have those 4 different functions on those normal light settings from 15 to 1500 lumens. And it does also have that nice little strobe function, but you cannot take the battery out. It does get volcano lava hot, the sun's surface hot in the palm of the hand when you're using those higher functions, which you may or may not be able to handle. But I would have to say, within this tiny little package, it does offer a lot. And for somebody who is not as picky as me, it might be just what you need. And I will have YouTube approved links for this down in the description. Hey Warriors, do you guys have any experience with the NITECORE EDC 37 or a flashlight from their lineup that kind of mimics this same style? Do you really like it? Or would you rather have that tubular style flashlight like me? I've given you my opinion. I've given you opportunities to give me your opinion. Let me know down in the comments, is this something that you'll be picking up? Or is this something that you've thought of? Or if it's kind of out of your ballpark? You already know what I'm going to tell you. This is John Wick 2.0. Hold the door before the next man. It takes nothing to be a gentleman. I'm out, Warriors.